Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the debut of Sunday Soul. Yes, listen, this is a brand new show that we are doing, and it's our debut show. And I have a very, very good friend and guest that's going to be with me. As you guys know, there's always technical difficulties, but we're going to get started and get everybody introduced. First of all, this is called our Soul Searching Series, Part 1. Now, we're going to start because we want to be clear. There are some disclaimers that we have to make, but we want you to understand this. Proverbs 4:23 says, "Keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life." And we're saying that because we want you to understand that the Nobody Asked Me Guys show's motto is "The mirror reflects an image, but the soul holds the truth." Now, I'm the executive producer and host, Melvin Casey Lars. And again, we want to wish you a good evening to our Sunday Soul. This is our debut of Sunday Soul. And our series again is called Soul Searching. Now, we want you to understand this, that tonight's topic is called I Cannot See You Until I See Me. We have to do our disclaimer. First of all, Mr. Wilborn and I and our guests that come on, we are not psychoanalysts. We are not psychotherapists. We are not psychologists, or are we psychics? So we want to be sure that you guys understand that none of the things that we say and share and ask you to share with us comes from a quote, a certified professional point of view. Most time when you start talking about life and things that affect you, most people want to think that a person is attempting to be a psychologist or a psychotherapist, or a psychoanalyst, or psychic. We're none of that. We are just two men that'll be talking with you and sharing with you our experiences, and we invite you to do so. I see Myers here. Thank you for very much being here. We're happy to see you. Now, I want to share with our viewers, as I said, this is our debut show for Soul Searching, and we want to offer on this show, we want to offer non-judgmental platform, void of our personal opinions, to our guests and to our listeners, as we, each of us, discover our intrinsic motivations for thinking the way that we think and for doing the things that we do. We do, however, encourage our listeners and our participants to share their personal insights based on not only their biblical beliefs and perspectives, but their personal experiences while navigating what can be shark-infested waters of life. Now, we also want to give you a little food for thought because we want you to travel with us through a process. And that process is going to be, we want you to share with us. We're going to share with you some life lessons, etc. But we're going to give you a little food for thought here. Now, it is scientifically documented that most people form their opinions of life holistically from information they have received from others. That's not me saying that. That's not Wenford saying that. That's just what scientifically that's been documented. Also, it talks about most people fail to exercise their true feelings about various situations because they do not research for themselves. Thus, they may truly feel that what's coming out of their mouths is truly the way that they feel about any number of situations. So that's why we just kind of want to give you a little insight as to what we'll be talking about this evening. And then lastly, most people, when engaged in a conversation, responds to what is being expressed by others in a manner which appears to please the majority of the group that's in attendance. Keep that in mind. Never bothering to process information to personally ensure what the facts of the comments are. Many times we don't process information. We just hear what someone is saying and we get all excited, and many times we jump on the bandwagon and we make uninformed, well, I should say not make, but we give uninformed responses out of just clapping and applauding maybe somebody that we may like personally or somebody we've known all of our lives, etc., without giving any real thought to what's going on. Now, tonight, as we talk about our topic, I can't see you until you see me. we're going to look at greed, corruption, and hate. And we're going to help you out here because we're going to start sharing with you from a biblical perspective. We just want to put a few verses out there just as we start having these discussions. And as I said, Mr. Wilborn will be on with us momentarily. But as I said, we just kind of want you guys to get an idea, get a perspective of what we're talking about. Now, John 3:16, people love to talk about this all the time, that for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that whosoever believes in him shall not perish, but have everlasting life. Now, we talk about that all the time, but sadly, in our uh, America, not only at this point, but many centuries, the greed, corruption, and hate has changed what God is saying to God bless America. There's no place in the Bible that says God bless America. It says, for God so loved, John 3:16 says, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish but have everlasting life. So first of all, we want to get that straight as we start our conversation, is that for individuals that want to use a platform to push their hate, push their greed, push their corruption, etc., that is not biblical, but they use the Bible anyway. And this is not a gospel program, but we do want to give you the opportunity to understand that. Now, also Mark 8:16, as we talk about greed and corruption and hate, Mark 8:16, for what shall it profit a man to gain the whole world and loses his soul? So with our talk tonight about the just aspects of life and that kind of thing, we want to be careful. We want to be careful as we discuss. But as we move through this process, with all of the things that are going on in the world today, what we have to be careful of, remember, I gave you a disclaimer. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not a psychoanalyst. I'm not a psychotherapist. I'm not a psychic. But I do read, and I read quite often. I do share my experiences in life. So as we talk about this question, and it's not really a question, it's a statement that we're discussing about life and things that we see. Now, in our recent episode last week and week before, we talked about dads. It's what we do. And many of us shared our ideas. Mr. Wenford Wilborn shared his information, and NFL Hall of Famer Fred Dean shared his, and Gerald Eddings, one of our former buddies, who's a professional oil field salesperson, etc., shared his information. And we had so this week, as we talk about, I can't see you until I see me. I want you guys to share with me. Put your comments in the comment bucket I call it a bucket, in the comment section on the on my left, or feel free to grab one of these cameras, because as we move within our lives, with the whole title of this broadcast being called Sunday Soul, and with the title and what we're working with from the Nobody Asked Me guy perspective being soul searching, when do we embrace and accept the fact that many times we make discussions about this? Look at the man or woman in the mirror. But do we fully understand? Because here at the Nobody Asked Me Guy show, we have a very simple motto. The mirror reflects an image, but the soul holds the truth. We're going to talk about that today, about the heart, and about how it really, the soul of the heart, I should say, that's really where our truths are manifested. So as we talk about manifestation, and again, that's why we made sure that we wanted to use some biblical verse, because we do not want to offend anyone. However, we want to be very clear that this is not a show about preaching. This is not a broadcast about trying to tell anybody what to do or how to do. We just want to have a conversation. So listen, let's just jump right into this whole process. And with all of the hatred that's going on in the world right now, and people that are protesting and because of injustices, and individuals being mistreated as human beings, and we all have allowed ourselves to be labeled with various names, regardless of where you may hail from, etc. So within our souls, how many of us, I should say, have actually did some soul searching? How have we done any soul searching to really know what we really believe, or to know why we think the way that we think, what influences us to think the way we think? And in our process of doing that, are we honest with ourselves? And that's the conversation we want to continue to have tonight and in subsequent soul searchings, because this is simply just part one. Ask yourself that question. Do I process information from an intelligence level, from information that I have gained? Or am I processing information from what someone else told me and from what I grew up to believe? And I do not want to let that go because it will make me very uncomfortable. Well, guess what? When we start to soul search, we are going to be uncomfortable if we really process information that we've been told, things that we've heard, things that we've been led to believe, things that we've embraced. And dare I use the word gospel, but things that we have accepted as being gospel because our grandfather said it, our father said it, our sisters and brothers believe it and embrace it. But that still does not make it be what really is. It may make it be what you would like to see it be. Because what we have to be careful about and understand that life is not a fantasy. May I say that again? Life is not a fantasy. So when we start experiencing life and we started going through life, and people come into our lives and leave our lives, sometimes we or they stay longer within our lives than we're comfortable with. Sometimes we or they exit that particular situation, be it with family, be it with a significant other, even be it with an enemy that we may have exited too soon, or that we may have not exited soon enough. But within those confines, how much of our separating or joining have we? See, not anybody else. And that's what this whole conversation is about tonight, and other conversations are going to be. How many times have we gotten and worked on getting to know us? Not what others think of us, not who they tell us that we are, but how often do we work on us? And please allow me to say, with no cockiness, uh, with no hidden agendas, I work on me every single day. Many times I question, I say, man, maybe you should have stopped and processed a little bit more. So, as we talk about greed, as we talk about hatred, as we talk about corruption, how often here he comes? And I'm giving them the opportunity to come in and talk with us and speak with us, because tonight our topic is on I can't see you until I see me. And the show is the debut, and we're talking about soul searching, because so many times we make opinions according to research. We make a lot of our opinions because of what somebody told us, or because of what we've heard all of our lives, or because of what we believe and what we choose to believe, without processing that information. Now, last week, you were sharing with us, Brother Wilborn, about life lessons from your father, and life lessons that you work with your son, and things that you share. Can you kind of reiterate that a little bit for us as we move into this conversation of I can't see you until you see me?
Well, as I was saying, I was talking to you. Until I can actually look at myself, I don't need to be seeing you. I need I need to find out what's going on with me first before I can even try to look at somebody else's life. And as I was saying, you was asking me about if someone you thought was doing me evil, and what would I do? Well, like I said, if they was doing me wrong, and I would first look at myself, see where I am,
Mhm.
and then I would like to see where they are, and then I can accept if they're doing me wrong if they don't know it. But now, if they're just doing me wrong just to do me wrong, then I need to pray about that, and I'll handle that the best way I can.
Okay. Now, let me share this with you, with you, Brother Winford. What I did for our audience while we were working through our glitches, I made it clear that we wanted them to be comfortable and understand this is that this is not a show about preaching and all of that. It's not a show about us passing judgment, but I did want them to understand that biblically we want to share some verses with them. And the first thing we talked about was Proverbs 4:23. Keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues
Mm-hmm.
of life. And you've just explained that. And we also shared with our audience earlier that we want them to understand this is that we talk about John 3:16. You see John 3:16 plastered everywhere. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish but have everlasting life. But sadly, with our subtopic, when we talk about greed, corruption, and hate, we get so twisted and we even sing a song, God Bless America. That's not biblical.
Hmm.
But we sit up and we call ourselves Christians and we act so pompous with our hands folded and our head in the air and we talk about being Christians all the time and we just completely ignore John 3:16. It says nothing about God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believes in him shall not perish but have everlasting life, but this is only meant for America. It says nothing about that in the Bible. Then we want to go on and share with them with Mark 8:16, because we're talking about greed, corruption, and hate. For what shall it profit a man to gain the world, the whole world, and lose his soul? So, as you are sharing with us, brother Winford, when you and I have, and we have some very healthy conversations, and let me say to our audiences, is I love talking to this brother. He has a lot of wisdom, and he share, and him being a businessman, him being an entrepreneur, etc. He can not only speak from a personal point of view, but he can also speak from his beliefs. So, Winford, being a businessman and being an entrepreneur, and Mark 8:16 talks about, for what shall it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose his soul? Can you kind of share with our audience what that says from you being the entrepreneur and businessman that you are? And people many times get it twisted because in the old days, a lot of us were taught that you had to be poor. So can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Well, again, I would say, you are blessed to be able to run a business because, well, in my case, I have to say the only reason that I'm still in business is because of the Lord. And like you said, this is not a holy than thou thing. But I found out a long time ago after making so many mistakes and trying everything else. When I actually tried God and believed that He would help me, the business took off. And we've been in business now like 20 years. And it's hard to be in any business 20 years. But the only way that I believe that you can be in business and be successful is to truly believe in God. And every day you should wake up. And when you wake up, you should wake Jesus up. You don't need to get up by yourself. If you get up by yourself, you're going to have a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we try to do in this business. When we get up and we wake Jesus up and ask him to lead us in this business. And as I said, I just don't understand how you can make it without him.
Mm-hmm.
And a whole lot of people say, that's easily said. Well, it is easily said. And the thing about God is, everything he says is the truth. He doesn't hide anything from you. Everything he gives you is easy for you to see. And I think that's our problem a lot of times. We just think it's too easy. As I told a friend of mine, sometimes it's so simple till it's hard. And that's kind of the way it is.
With that stated, I would like us to go back a little bit and talk about those wonderful children that you have and those grandkids. Knowing the man that you are, as we go through this world of greed, corruption, and hate, what kind of life lessons have you had to share with your children that now is coming on down to the grandkids and to generations of people that you talk to that are not your own seed?
Well, the first thing, like I taught my kid, is you want to treat people the way that you want to be treated. And like I said, that sounds simple again. But if you want to be treated with respect, you need to treat everybody else with respect. So you start out with that. And if you can respect the person, you don't have to agree with him, but you do need to respect him. And if you will respect him, they have found out that even though they don't agree with them, sometimes they don't even like the idea, but they will work with them. And when you can get people on the same page of working with you, then you have accomplished something.
Yes, you have. Well, listen, let me just jump right into it because you know how I am. Now, both of us, dare I say, agree with one another very wholeheartedly that we believe in God, we believe in Jesus Christ, we believe in a higher power. With the state of the world today, if I can again go back to our greed, corruption, and hate, do you feel that we are working to, let's say, maybe move toward an everlasting life, or are we just kind of, wandering around, I should be saying, in the wilderness? That was kind of like the Israelites when Moses was trying to lead them, and they were wandering around, and then once Moses, and if they hadn't been so stubborn, they had listened, they could have gotten out in 4 days instead of the 40 years. But my question, my specific question is this: with people talking about, you can hardly talk to anybody 5 seconds before they say, and I'm blessed, I'm a Christian. But with us being so ready to tell people that, in your experience, and I told people at the beginning of the show, we're not passing judgment, we're not trying to tell them anything, but in your experience, how much of that do you actually see lived out in your experience when it comes to us making a point of telling people that we are Christians and we're blessed, but then when it comes to our fellow man, regardless of race, creed, or color, are you or have you experienced on a daily basis people actually living that out rather than just saying it?
Well, you meet people kind of on both ends of that. You're going to meet some that are actually living like that, and you're going to meet, I would say, probably 3/4. They're not living like that. They're just saying that. That holy denial is easy to say. But the thing about it, a person has to actually look at your life and know what you are about, know what you are doing to get the real effect of your life. And I found out that people, they have said that they are, they are Christian and all that. But see, a Christian means being Christ-like. If I'm going to raise sand all through the week and go to church on Sunday and then be good, that's not Christ-like. I'm putting on a show for 6 days of the week. And like I said, and I'm just going Sunday, showing up, really acting. But that's not the way life is. You have to live. You have to live and respect people. And you need to try and enjoy people. Enjoy where you are. And it's not about the money all the time. The money is only a tool to get you where you want to go. And I found out, that has helped me a lot in life. But straight people, they don't. No, they don't.
I wanted us to address that because in life, we know that we all have flaws. We know that none of us are perfect. However, I have found, in my experience, Brother Winford, in my experience, I have found that when people mistreat you, when they do things they know they should not be doing, even when they purposely sabotage you and they get called out on it, then the first thing come out of their mouth, well, I'm not perfect. But so, you know, I have difficulty, and I want our audience to weigh in on this as well. When it comes to sharing God's word, do you find it difficult to navigate those waters because we don't want to turn people off as being, quote, too preachy, but we know we need to bring some light into their lives and give them some meat? Maya, glad you're here.
Thank you. Nice to see you, Lords and Mr. Wenford. Nice to meet you. But sorry to disturb your thought.
What I was asking was, I was asking Mr.
Pleased to
Wilborn,
meet you too.
is that in his quest to not sound preachy or not try to sound as if he's a perfect person or I'm a perfect person or you, Maya, do you find it difficult to tread those waters sometimes when you need to share and give other people insight? You want them to hear you and you want to give them some Bible-based information, but you don't want to, quote, just try to cram stuff down their throat. But and you already know, first of all, that it's difficult to get them to listen. Do you find it difficult sometimes to share your beliefs just with people in general or people that you may pass along the way, as we like to say, Brother Wilborn?
Well, I used to when I was younger. I used to worry more about people feeling than I do now. But there's too many people hurting now for me to be worried about their feelings. So I just tell you the way it is now. If God said it, then that's the way it is. It's no problem with me. And if the scripture, whatever I come through in the Bible, and I meditate on and go through it, I can discuss it with anybody, and I can listen to what they have to say. But the bottom line is, if God said it, it's true. It's just a fact. You don't have to fact check it. It's true.
Let's cover this last point because we're going to be doing this in a series. But let's cover this last point for tonight's session. When you have individuals that have, quote, different beliefs, and you having conversations with them, do you find it difficult, again, to try to make a point if you're trying to make one? But it's a two-part question. Not only do you find it difficult because they may be Buddhist or Muslim or whatever, but the second part of my question is, do you ever engage in conversation with people, even though they may have different, quote, religious beliefs, where everybody can come on one accord and say that there is one savior? Or is that always a bone of contention?
Asking me, it's always a bone of contention, man, because, and then too, like I said, you still have to respect where they are coming from because they believe the same way that we believe. And I just think their beliefs is somewhere else.
Maya?
Their belief.
Sure. I would actually agree with Mr. Wilford too that it's a bone of contention because religion, as you both know, religion, and that's everyone knows, religion is a very, very singular, I think, idea, concept, singular way of life. And in religion, you have two very complex things to deal with. You have monotheism, which Christianity is, and you have polytheism, it's many religions, including Hinduism, it's that it's a belief in many entities, many people. And translating it into a Christian sense, I wonder if that would translate itself into like idol worship or whatever else it may come into. So I would think that it's a bone of contention. I mean, as much as we want to agree on this concept, and definitely we do want to agree in the end that there is a higher power and that we believe in something and that it grounds us to the life we're living in now. But in a way, it's still a bone of contention, I think, just based on the singular belief or belief of many entities.
For that, guys, as we wrap the show up for today, let me ask both of you a question. In the statements that you've made, I certainly agree because I'm on that same page. I will say this: in all of our having bones of contentions, I wonder if people actually think about, regardless to where you are in the world. And Maya, you mentioned idol worship, and we know that the Bible version that some of us believe in talks about that not idol worship, and there should be no other God before me, etc. But I wonder how many people actually think about, no matter where you are in the world, no matter what you believe, or if you disagree with the Bible, if you disagree with the Quran or whatever, every place in the world, we all believe that there is and then we all have talked about a higher power. I always thought that to be a phenomenon. And I've always thought it to be a phenomenon because, again, allow me to repeat myself quickly. No matter where people live, no matter whether they are Buddhist, no matter whether they are Islamic, no matter whether they, whatever the religion, everybody that I've read about, seen on TV, watched on the History Channel, etc. Even, quote, in the bush, when people try to call people uncivilized and all of that, to me, that's a strange phenomenon that no matter where, there's always that in our heads that there is a higher power. And I wonder many times if we think about that when we are in conversations with individuals that we don't necessarily agree with, who they have chosen to see as, I'll just use the word generically, if you guys will allow me to use the word God generically, who people see as their God. Have you given much thought to that at any point? Is that holistically across the world, all of us seem to believe in some kind of higher power?
Okay.
I know I was making a statement, and you guys have already told me that it is contentious, because I have to agree, it is contentious with me as well. And I do want to bring you back to one thought. The whole show was based on, and I wanted to quote statistically, and I'll read this again, and then we're going to close. When it talks about, it is scientifically documented that most people form their opinions of life holistically from information they have received from others. So when it comes to Christianity, when it comes to the belief of, is Buddha right, or the Islamists, are the Islamic people right? Are people right that say there was Christ and then there was Jesus? Is the Quran right? Because we know, according to history, if we read it very closely, it is stated over and over and over that the Bible, as people know it, especially in America, was copied from the Quran, even some of the images and all of that. So when we talk about situations that involve Christianity, that involve life lessons, that involve information for ourselves, people that we've met, I just wanted us to I just wanted to make those statements to you, because as we are talking tonight about it being contentious, and when we try to give people advice, or when we try to say to people, hey, look, I'm not perfect either, I have all of these flaws, etc., etc. However, I do believe in a higher power. And I will say this to both of you. Maya, you didn't know me at the time, And Wenford did not know during the time I was going through my acute promyelocytic leukemia when I was dealing with my oncologist. And I stopped them in their tracks. You know, they kept saying to me that without a bone marrow transplant, it was no possible way I could live. That was 30 years ago. Didn't get a bone marrow transplant. But when I said to them, there's a higher power than all of us, they didn't know how to respond. They did not know how to respond. So on this show, as we talk about that, and I want to say it more for our audience than for our participants, is that we want to provide a platform for you to understand that when you come to this show, and there'll be subsequent ones, is that we just want to provide a platform for you guys to be able to discuss your ideas, discuss your thoughts, discuss things that you've talked about, things that you've studied yourself, conversations that you've heard through other people, and how much of that is crucial in you believing what you believe. And can we say, Mr. Wilborn, Ms. Maya, that most of our belief, like most people in the world, has come from what we've always been taught? Or can we say most of our belief, like very few people in the world, comes from things that we have actually researched and put inside ourselves?
Well,
Which one would you?
I think you have to speak for yourself on that. Me, I can go from personal experience. You know, you can believe what you want, and what you were actually talking about a while ago is a spiritual workout. That's what you're actually talking about. If you don't go through anything, how would you know there's somebody more powerful than you? Because you are falling into the accident that you're doing it yourself.
Yeah.
But I believe there is a higher power than me, and I just believe in Jesus Christ, the Son of God. I just make it that simple and leave it there.
Yeah. Okay. Maya, I see you nodding your head.
In my opinion, yeah. Yep.
Okay.
In my opinion, I think it's a happy hybrid. It's a happy hybrid of both learning on your own, having those experiences, and the book/people knowledge you gain along the way.
But we just thank you for being here, and we welcome you back next Sunday at 5 o'clock. We will be doing part 2. We'll have more specific questions. We will look at a few more Bible verses and just kind of kick it around and talk about it. But we will be talking about you and the things that you understand according to those. We're not having church. We're not preaching to anyone, and we're not trying to tell anyone what to think. We just want to have a conversation and a free conversation. So with that, we'd like to thank each and every one of you for joining us tonight on this platform. And we hope that you come again on Friday nights. We have a different kind of show. The Nobody Asked Me Guy show is a different kind of show. And we talk about a little bit of everything. We talk about parenting. We talk about music. We talk about different kinds of professions, etc. So come and join us. Now, do our panelists, do you have anything that you'd like to add as we close the show?
I just want to thank you for being here.
Well, I thank you, brother, for being here. I'm glad you're here. I appreciate you and Ms. Maya again. And we want to thank you very much. We don't want to tie up all of your Sunday. And we just thank you again. This is Soul Sunday. I am your host, Melvin Casey Lars. We do executively produce our own show, our own questions, etc. I encourage you guys to send us some questions so that we can talk about what you want to hear. And quite frankly, I'm very pleased and very excited that you guys have come to join us for our debut show. So I'm really beside myself. I didn't expect these many people. I don't mind saying that on air for our debut show, but we are happy that you're here. Friday nights, 7 o'clock. Come see us. Have a great and blessed Sunday.